All right, so today we're going to be talking about statistics and linear relationships. So, the first thing we're going to be looking at today is how to graph a linear function. If you don't know first of all, we have to talk about functions. What is a function? Whenever we have, for example, y equals x, what does this mean? That if whatever value that we plug in for x, for example 1, our y value will also be 1. And then say that we have that y equals 3x, meaning that whatever we put for this x right here, say we plug in 2, and then y would equal 3 times 2, which equals 6, right? And as we know, our coordinates are y, x, and y, right? Okay. So another way of thinking about a y equals 3x plus 1, we can say f of x equals 3x plus 1 because whatever we're plugging in, this x is our output, right? Our x equals input and y equals output. So let's actually start graphing this. First things first, whenever we're graphing this linear graph, we need to look at two main elements, right? Excluding these ones that I just talked about, which is the slope, or also called gradient, depending on where you live, right? In England, they call it slope. No, in England, they call it gradient. However, in the US, they call it slope. And we also have the y-intercept. So what are these two concepts? So the slope is if we have y equals 3x plus 1, as we talked about, our slope is going to be the number before our x. So we have 3, our slope equals 3 over 1, right? Because we always, when we're thinking about slopes, we always need to write it as a fraction. Because what slope is rise over run. Also called the change in the y coordinate by 1, then divided by the change in the x coordinate. Right? So if you have a linear graph, right, our slope would be from this point, it would be up 2 and 3 to the right, and then up 2, 3 to the right, following this triangle theorem. Right? And now what is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is if we have our coordinate plane, these values right here in our x-axis are called the x-intercept, because if we have this point right here, we know that we have a value, for example, let's say this is 3, and we know that our y is 0. With the y-intercept is the opposite. If we know that our x coordinate is 0. However, we know that our y will be 3. So this is the y-intercept, and this is the x-intercept. Right? So in order to graph a linear graph in its general form, you always need to remember these concepts. So let's actually do 3 examples. Say that we're graphing y equals 2x plus 2. Right? We're graphing this. First thing we need to see is what is our y-intercept, right? And in order to know this, we have the form called y equals mx plus b, where b is your y-intercept, and m is equal to your slope. So whenever you have the form in this case, so if we're graphing y equals 2x plus 2, we have to, first thing we need to do is identify the y-intercept. In this case, it's 2. So it's 0, 2, the y in. Second thing we need to look at is a slope. Well, we have it. This is a 2, by the way. Let me make this more visible. 2 and 2. So our slope is 2 over 1. Or 2, depending how well your algebraic skills are. Right, and then third thing we need to do, connect points. Sorry. You need to connect points. Connect points. However, right, so we have our coordinate plane. First thing we found out, the y-intercept, so it will be right here, this point right here. Slope, meaning that we go up 2, 1, 2, and we go 1 to the right. So this would be the point. And now, the third step, we need to connect these 2 points, but infinitely. And we can do something like this and represent it with an arrow, right? This would be straight. So let me just make it straighter. We would do something like this. This point, this point. Do this. This is our infinite linear line. You can see our slope. It forms this triangle infinitely and infinitely to the negative direction as well. So what you guys need to see is that we formed our y-intercept. First thing we need to do is find our y-intercept, and then we need to do the slope. With the slope, we found 2 points. Every time you're graphing a linear function, you need 2 points. With these 2 points, at least 2 points, you can connect them and form the linear line. Right? And just, let's do so, the graph that we previously did, we saw that our slope was positive, right? But we could also have a negative slope. So, we have our coordinate plane, and let's say that our slope is negative 2 over 1. And this is our intercept. That means we're going to go down to 1, 2, and we're still going to go 1 to the right. And the graph is going to look like this. Negative slope. We saw that graph, the previous graph we did, we saw that, for example, we had something like this. We saw that as, we can see this is a perfect correlation, right, for statistics as well. But what we realize here is that as our y coordinate increases, our x coordinate also increases, making this directly proportional. Positive directly proportional. It's a positive correlation. And